here. Of course, everything's changed. Why do things change? When they change things, I don't know what it means. Oh, it works. What does this do? Now I don't want to leave the studio. All things change all the time. I guess that's good. I guess it's good when things change, but it confuses me. It confuses me. All right. It's hot. I didn't realize how hot it was. We have a new total, but it's not that exciting. Yeah, it's not that different. I'll leave it. This is basically, we're slightly more than that, but we have 8 million shares of Railtown in our group, which is really, really good. And congratulations to everybody. I'm coming on tonight. Maybe we can talk about more other topics, but I'd like to try to give you some ideas of valuation and why I'm so fixated that we have a shot at 10x. But we can go through some different macro and micro information there. Yeah, okay. I think I'll turn the page. I just got back and my feet are just killing me. So my distraction is from that. I don't know what to do to make it better. I guess it's stress. So anyway, we're at 8 million in Railtown. Let me, let's quickly do this. Hey, Ted. How are you? Hey, Phil Haynes. The Nationals picked at kind of an odd I actually predicted it, but a little bit of a surprise. The Nationals picked. Damn it. The Nationals picked Eli Willits, 17 years old. And there's no summary here. Ethan Holiday fell down to the Rockies, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, it doesn't work. Can't give you any updates beyond that. All right, let me show you evening. Yeah, 75 cents tomorrow. I don't know. I think the way it closed Friday, it reversed and it was strong. But I think they're going to try to keep it under 60 cents. 58, 59, 60, 61. And call my rich friends, yeah. Well, I'm sure there's people in there. But anyway, let me show you a couple of, a couple of quotes. This is, you've heard of this guy, Mark Andreessen. In short, software is eating the world. In short, software is eating the world. So that's that. Software is eating the world. And then you look at this from Jensen Huang. Software is eating the world, but AI is going to eat software. AI is going to eat software. Trying to get some room here to. Oh, I didn't mean that to come up. I don't mean that to come up. Trying to delete it. Trying to delete it. It's just how life is. Sometimes things, as much as you try, they screw up. All right. So I got that off. And then if I can delete this, I guess delete this too. All right, now, whoa, you got a lot of files. All right, should be able to get the files, some of the files I wanted to show you. I didn't want that one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We got what we have. So let's go back to the comments. Wow. Richard Relentless. I like the name. Richard Relentless. That's a good name. That's a great amount too. I forget who asked. I think there's 3 people here. Ted, I think tomorrow it may not get to 75 cents, but soon I think it will. I think the key thing is the shorts, if we can call them that, the co-conspirators are going to keep the pressure down on it until the deal's done, I think. Because Railtown has announced 3 revenue deals without the revenue. They announced 3, I always forget the name. enterprise sales agreements, and they didn't announce the revenue. So that gives the conspirators the chance to keep selling, and I think they will. But I don't think it's going to go down very much. I'd be right in this range. They might finally have something that hurts Trump. But the reason I keep coming on is one of these days they're going to finish that deal, and then I think 75 cents won't even matter. I think once the stock crosses 62 cents with volume, and the bid goes above it with volume, and follow through, you're right, maybe it goes to 75 cents, pulls back, but I don't think so. If the reason that the stock goes above 62 cents is because they finally announced that deal, I think $1.20, $1.25, double basically is how I come up with that. Hasten out. I'm going to see if I can. Oh, God. I don't know if there's a pain worse than gout that sustainable pain worse than gout. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. All right, let me show you what I was going to try to show you. Of course, the order might get screwed up. Tech Outlook. This is Merrill Lynch Research. Gen AI. This is Gen AI. It's called Generative AI revenue. Could surpass $1 trillion by 2028. Generative AI revenue. This is Morgan Stanley, 4/22/25. Software and internet companies are likely to see their revenue from generative AI rise more than 20-fold over the next 3 years, with positive returns on investment as soon as 2025. Then it repeats, revenue from generative AI is likely to increase more than 20-fold over the next 3 years. As the expanding functionality of generative AI prompts broader use and triggers a new technology cycle. After an unprecedented level of investment, Gen AI could drive potential revenue of about 1.1 trillion. Why not say 1.15 trillion? Of about 1.1 trillion in 2008, up from 45 billion last year, according to Morgan Stanley. Now that we've had Gen AI products in the marketplace for more than a year, and they've proved their efficacy, the market is going to be ready to start adopting these solutions, according to Morgan Stanley Software Research. Revenue starts to flow to the software companies that are trying to automate the business processes. Does that sound like anybody you know? Does it sound like anyone you want to know? Does it sound like someone you should know? AI, by 2028, they're going to have great ROI, 67% margin. AI becomes mainstream. Gen AI caught the general public's attention 3 years ago with the release of ChatGPT and then some other products. There was no clarity on whether and when the technology would offer a return. However, as product development and more robust infrastructure have led to mainstream pickup of Gen AI products, there is visibility. Of the 1.1 trillion revenue opportunity forecast for 2028, 400 billion would come from corporate spending on software focused on productivity improvements from automation. That's the sweet spot of Railtown, 400 billion. We took a look, well, as I understand it, we'll get Corey on so he can explain it. Eventually we'll get him on, I hope. We took a look at the labor and wage calculations. Consumer platforms, which include e-commerce, search, social media, autonomous, and wearables, could generate additional revenue. For 2025, Morgan Stanley Research predicts a potential revenue of 153 billion, with enterprise software accounting for 59 billion. Let's write that number down. Enterprise software, 59 billion in 2025. I'll write that number down, not the 1.1 trillion, not the 400 billion, not the 680 billion. I'll just write down the 59 billion, and I'll leave off consumer platforms, which would generate the remaining 94 billion. In fact, for the first time, return on investment is expected to be positive, with analysts expecting generative AI to yield 34% contribution margin, the equivalent of 51 billion. By 2028, margin rises to 67% and a $722 billion return. That leads us to the conclusion that Gen AI's return profile is not meaningfully different from the gross margin of today's software and internet solutions. And then if you look, obviously call centers, but evidence of saving real dollars. That's what's going to incite a lot more adoption of generative AI. Breakthrough technologies will continue to emerge over the next 3 years, and they will open up opportunities, not just to create efficiencies with existing processes, but to completely rewrite business process. Developing hardware for Gen AI innovation has been a bottleneck. An AI model that is 10% smarter might require 5 times more hardware. You're looking at really dramatic increases in the amount of hardware. Semiconductor spending is forecast to reach 280 billion in 28. Spending on hardware, networking, and memory for generative AI is almost to triple to 276 billion. Let me take this comment down and finish this sentence. We've heard from some of the big spenders in the market that they are continuing to scale up. This is not a bubble. This is not a bubble. This is investment that's driven by these areas of economic benefit. And this is what our software and internet teams are seeing. Source of this article: Gen AI revenue could surpass 1 trillion by 2028, was originally published by Morgan Stanley Research on March 4, 2005. Megatrends. How to invest in the artificial intelligence boom. Artificial intelligence is set to become a $3 trillion industry. I'm going to write that one down too. $3 trillion industry in the next several years. Generative AI refers to unsupervised. Isn't that what Railtown does? And semi-supervised, isn't that what Railtown does? Machine learning algorithms that can use existing texts, images, audio, or video to create new content. Isn't that what Railtown does? Generative AI tools can, for example, have human-like conversations, compose music, and edit computer code. Wow, that sounds pretty darn exciting. Where can investors find compelling AI opportunities? So far, many investors have focused on a handful of mega cap stocks. But given the wide range of AI's impact, we believe there's far more companies that stand to benefit across a bunch of sectors. Many of the economic benefits of AI are likely to accrue to companies that are already leading in their industry. Large firms with dominant market share, recurring revenues, and sticky customers, ice cream stores, are positioned to use AI to help amplify their already considerable competitive advantages. These companies often have customers who cannot easily switch to rival products and thus may be more willing to try their AI product and pay for it because it's from a company they already know and trust. Don't you see how these partners that they have, Microsoft, NVIDIA, AMD, and maybe there's others out there that will bid, they're the natural buyers. So here's the likely AI beneficiaries, and investors may wish to pay particular attention to companies that fit at least one of four categories. Well, we can go through it, but I think Railtown actually fits all four of these. But what jumps out, margin expanders. These companies are using AI to reduce costs. Bingo. Generative AI tools that help software companies to write code. Bingo. For example, may help them lower their often sizable research and development costs. Yes, sir. And more rapidly introduce new products and features. Professional services companies are also using AI to realize savings. Oh, that's Railtown. That's Conductor. Trailblazers, these are products, AI products that boost sales and create new revenue streams. And I believe this is right up their alley as well, trailblazing. Price risers, leaders can introduce AI-based enhancement so they can charge more. And I think Railtown's right there. But you come down to number 4. These companies provide the building blocks of AI technology, including data management tools, data centers, and equipment needed for advanced chip manufacturing. Two of those are what's going on the macro level, but the data management tools, I think, applies to Railtown. Of course, I ain't no genius. Mind the risks, of course. While AI is going to usher in long-term growth in many industries, investors should watch out for a bubble. There have been recent hype cycles around technologies. That's true of all these things. And it says here, down here it says, but anyway, it's a good warning. I don't think we're there yet, and I don't think we're running the risk with Railtown. Anyway, that's the end of that report. I want to show you on Morgan Stanley's website. This is E-Trade, actually. But are the exchange-traded names when I searched for AI. These were the 7 they gave me. ARK, of course, Kathy ARK is always there ahead of the news. But her ETFs, 91 smackers. First Trust NASDAQ Artificial Intelligence, $50. Global X Robotics NAI ETF, $30. Robo Global Robotics and Automation ETF, $60. Round Hill Humanoid Robotics ETF, $25. Thems Robotics and Automation, $30. Van Eck. I will predict to you, I show you this not for you to buy these, but I show you this because I've been telling you, we're in the middle of the summer now. Everybody's summering. When they come back, by the end of the year, I bet when you look up Google or search, it won't say 7 results. I bet there'll be 30 results, 25 results. Money is coming into this space. So for the ones of you who were late, Railtown is founded by software engineers who have built companies before and sold them on. And they're fixing problems in the software space with a product they developed over 6 years. This, as Corey Brandolini says, software is the world's biggest market. This is what Mark Andreessen says. Software is eating the world. And then Jensen Huang says software is eating the world. AI is going to eat software. How's that? How do you like them apples? How do you like them apples? Oh, I put this up. I looked up Constellation Software. They primarily finance acquisitions through free cash flow. One reason they don't issue a lot of stock, which is great, and debt financing. It's important to note that Constellation Software has not issued new equity since its listing on the Toronto Stock Exchange in 2006. They have a preference for cash and debt financing over issuing new shares to avoid diluting existing shareholders and maintaining control. These are the same guys. Well, it's not the same CEO who's going to be doing it, but the guys who founded AI Partners were early investors here. So I think they'll mimic this. The strategy reflects the long-term buy and hold approach to acquisitions, which is quite distinct from the typical private equity model, which relies on leverage, reselling, fees, and pretending to add value. Debt financing, so they use free cash flow and debt, revolving credit, and senior notes. They also deploy a decentralized acquisition model where operating managers source and manage acquisition. Constellation aims to provide a permanent home for acquired businesses, appealing to entrepreneurs who wish their companies to remain independent. This approach can attract sellers who prioritize the long-term well-being of their businesses and employees. Senior people are required to reinvest money, their salary. All right, let's go back to comments. Yeah, I don't think they want to get it ahead of 62. Once it does, they lose control, in my opinion. We'll find out. But I don't want this to be a squeeze play. I really don't. But hey, we got to deal the cards we are played. Hey, Darren Collins. Hey, Mark and Celeste. Yeah, I know I don't have the biggest audience, but hey, it's not the size of the audience. It's whether or not they're trying to lose weight. He's always giving me grief. Hurry up and buy tomorrow. Hey, Matthew, what's your thoughts on how the announcement of the closure of the non-brokered private placement will affect Railtown? Well, in a very prosaic way, I think that announcement was required before they can move forward with announcing a completion of the MOU agreement from February 11th. In other words, in my opinion, they have to announce all sorts of material items either in advance of that or simultaneously with that. It all depends on what their lawyers are telling them. And I've sought the help of securities attorneys in similar situations. And it boils down to, when you're a public company, you cannot hold any news at all. You're not allowed to hold it. You're also not allowed to play it out in a way that causes what can be maybe sussed as manipulation. Of course, if you're a criminal, you can do anything you want. But so the lawyers may have said you had to announce that rather than, in other words, if they waited for the announcement of the MOU turning into a definitive agreement and they piled on 3 or 4 things all at once, that might not pass muster. On the other hand, if that's how they come in, that's how they go out. It's an art, not a science. So you have to listen to your attorneys. But so anyway, I think it was housekeeping, basically. But if you're trying to suggest that it's a negative, I don't think so. Let me see what the I don't remember the exact wording of that announcement. So let me look it up. 3 days ago, the headline is Railtown AI Technologies Inc. announces closing of non-brokered private placement, just tucked in there at almost midnight. They're pleased to announce the previously disclosed, and that's an important thing, it was already disclosed, at a price of US 50 cents per unit for $600,000. So each unit consists of one common, one half warrant, and the unit's priced at 50 cents. I believe at the time that this was done, the share price was right around 36 cents. And I think it was priced at market, essentially. The warrants are priced at 75 cents and they exist for 18 months. This is a strategic financing. This is not a financing with Jeff Easton, Kurt Kramer, Ari Rubenstein, the Toad, any number of fronts for criminality. That's not what this is. This is a plain vanilla strategic invest. It's a placement given to a strategic investor. We don't know what that strategic investor is. It could be a guy like me when I was younger and full of vim and vigor. And I'd say to a company, look, I'm going to hop a plane. I'll be in London, Geneva, the Middle East, and I'll stop off in the southern Don region to see if there's a new market there. And I get, my associates and I might get some expense money, not much, 20 grand or something, 30 grand. And then, shares or warrants or something like that to go raise money. And usually when we did it, it was done on a best efforts basis. So we didn't earn anything unless we actually did something. But anyway, it could be a guy like that. That could be what that is. They made a deal with somebody that's going to go hop around the major cities in, I don't know, making it up, Russia to raise money. I don't know. But that's what strategic investment is. It's not going to Jeff Easton, having one of the guys make the introduction. They get the signature of the CEO, and then Jeff Easton goes to one of his 4 hedge funds, and they just start shorting it, and they give the money to the company, and the stock price goes down, and there's never any recovery. The CEOs are destroyed, shareholders are destroyed, and it just becomes a nightmare. The only people that make money are the IR guys that get paid stock or warrants, and as the stock goes up, they start, excitement comes in, feed on, goes up, they dump it. That, my friends, is a pump and dump. And I'm not against people getting paid, by the way. I actually disagree with the sentiment that it's somehow bad if people get paid to do their job. Everybody gets paid on Wall Street, like this right here. The only difference here, Matthew, is instead of giving the guy, look, this, let me see if it says it down here. It doesn't. But in the previous news announcement, and it was in the headline, it wasn't tucked in the last paragraph, it said it was a strategic investment. So this guy or this company or this girl, I guess, who's getting this right to invest strategically, they're not getting anything for free. They're having to put up money. Of course, now it looks like the nice price at US 50 cents for the stock and the warrants for free. Or you can say they paid a little bit for the warrants, but I think most people looking at it would just argue they paid 50 cents a share and they got the warrants for free. Unless you're a anal retentive librarian type that's just here to help everyone out. Scott Van Dyke, like the name. I like the name Scott Van Dyke. What does Richard Relentless have? I didn't write it down. I wrote his name down, 12,000. And now Scott Van Dyke has and good evening to you. That's a great number. I think you're going to be happy with it. 7,650. But anyway, Matthew, I think it's great they announced it. And in terms of it, if you're asking that, is it dilutive? I guess, if you really want to be Eeyore, you could say, well, what'd they get for it? They should have waited. But then the company could be, caught short for cash. I don't know what the thinking is. But I just want to point out the units are 1.2 million units. So the outstanding shares of the company are roughly 140 million. So that's less than 1%. It's not very dilutive. Of course, if you add in the half a warrant, you're probably at, 1.2%. You can figure it out. What's 1,800,000 shares divided by well, my head is pounding. Divide by 141 million shares. Anyway, you can look it up on Yahoo. Oh, I can look it up right here. According to Yahoo, the outstanding shares are implied outstanding shares 141,740,000. So if you take 1.8 million, my head is killing me. I hope it doesn't mean something. Divided by 141,740,123. Yeah, it's 1.27%. 1.27% dilution. That's nothing. And we don't know yet what the benefit that comes in. We'll find out as they make further disclosures. But remember, it'd been nice if we could have done that deal, huh? But maybe we can in the future because we're now 5%, 5.5% of the float. And if we can stick together as a ragtag group of independent thinkers, I think I can say that I don't think anything soon, but there will be times down the road where maybe there's an opportunity for us to work together and have an attractive strategic investment. Hey, Lawrence, Damina, big power play happened. Meta took a lot of people from OpenAI. Or let me understand this. Meta, which is Facebook, took a lot of people from OpenAI, which is, I don't know what OpenAI, who owns OpenAI. Google's AI hit the medical industry. XAI is the leader. Wow. I'm interested by that. I don't know exactly, Lawrence, what it means, though, but I'll look it up tonight. Matthew Cabell. The sweetest sound to a man's ears is the sound of his own name. I wonder if it's true if it's mispronounced. I apologize. Ward Richardson, SoundHound AI fits the bill along with Railtown AI. Yeah, SoundHound, somebody's brought that up to me from different sources more than once. And SoundHound, there's looking into, so I'll do that. But you're right, along with Railtown. Hey, Brandon Judkins, happy Sunday. Got a little late, just got caught up. Sorry you're battling the gout. I know. Have a friend who can't give up pork. I'm not sure it comes from pork. I don't eat pork. I mean, I don't have anything against it, but most packaged pork, that most food that we have in our stores isn't food. So I'm just recently, not for a long time. I'm trying to just eliminate the processed crap that we call food. I'm hoping they hold it below 62 cents for a few minutes tomorrow, so I grab. Yeah, and I wouldn't. I mean, it's up to you, but I really believe that this. It's called a memorandum of understanding back when, and they're going to come to a letter of intent formalizing. That's what their press release says. My guess is if all they announced is a formalized letter of intent, I would not be comfortable with what would happen with the stock price. I think what they need to announce is something that has the words binding in it or final agreement, maybe subject to shareholder approval, but something with the seal of absolutism that it's done, it's finished, it's completed, it is not going anywhere. There's no more negotiating, no more risk. Because if it's just a letter of intent setting out terms, the criminals will go to work. So anyway, my point is, though, I think it is, Jack, going to be, because it's been almost 5 months. I mean, how much more time do they need? I think it is going to be that definitive agreement. And I think a shareholders meeting, should it be scheduled, it could be 40 days from now. I think it'll be just a rubber stamp because the insiders and big holders own more than enough of the company to get that vote through. So I think the good news of having a final deal will show up now. I don't think it'll wait. Part of it might have to wait to the extent that some institutions have to come in by their mandate after the shareholder approval. But I think there's going to be some lickety splitting, as Tom Waits might call it, into the stock. So anyway, my point is don't play for a penny here, a penny there. If you buy it at 62 cents or 61 cents tomorrow morning and they drive it down at 10:30 down to 57 cents on a spike and then it comes back at the end of the day, don't be too hard on yourself. Just say, hey, maybe I could have bought a few more shares. But if you pencil it out, it won't be significantly different. Just congratulate yourself, in my judgment,
for any stock you're buying under $1, under $1.20. And because of the co-conspirators, it's under 60 cents, maybe under 65 cents. 62 cents will be a big number if there's volume and the bid goes through it. That will cease being resistance and possibly become support, but there'll be very little resistance above it. So it'll be like a rubber band coming out of there. I don't want to get too far ahead. I think $1.20, $1.25, that's my target after it goes through 62. One could argue that $1 would be a target too, because it's a round number. How did I pick $1.20, $1.25? I just doubled it. I just said it's going to double. Yes, sir, of course. Wow, Mike, I didn't see that post. That's pounceable. That makes you, I think, one of the top 10, maybe one of the top 7. That's awesome. Thank you for reposting. I didn't see it. I don't think I did. I'll look it up. With my luck, I already did put it in. But that's great, Mike. That's awesome. I don't know what you've got, but it's got me. Baby, baby, baby. I've got about a quarter what you got. Keep adding. But again, I really want to emphasize, this isn't a time to get all, I want to save a penny, 2 pennies. I want to get 5 cents cheaper. I think we're coming to a point in the second week now, it'll be the third week of July, where how much longer do they need? So my feeling is any day, any week, I have a hard time believing it's going to be any month. I think it's going to be July, but it could be August. I mean, never know. But when they do it, you're going to be glad you paid 65 cents or 59 cents. I think it's the salt content. Could be, yeah. 30 minutes of yoga every day and you'll see you are a new person altogether. Do I have to do my yoga in my altogether? Or can I do yoga altogether wearing clothes? Blood pressure, cholesterol, no need for medicine. Yoga is all you need. All right, I'll go do yoga I'm at work now, listen later, but do a quick 5-minute bid on why to buy so I can share it. Yeah, no, I bet your email did go through. I didn't see it. I'll do that in the morning when I'm fresher. Give us a bottle of your freshest wine. I resent it. You resent it. You resent it. Richard Relentless. I have over 5,000. I held finger for 2 years. Richard Relentless. I would wait to see how Railtown opens up. But let me talk about finger a second. I just threw away the research from Benchmark that I used to show, $5 target. It's completely irrelevant now. I want to be careful what I say, but on the other hand, I want to be clear. I want to be clear with what I say. I think finger motion could easily go below $1, and it could be a 75-cent stock. I like finger motion I'm talking about. I like finger motion. I like the broader context of the story. I've interviewed Martin Shen, and I think he's terrific. I can give you the blow by blow of what the story is for Finger. It's been the same story now for 2 years, 3 years. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Things take time. But Richard, China is, I had a good friend of me point this out, I don't know, a few months ago, and I've been following various lecturers on it. But China's not in a pretty place economically. I think they're going to still probably benefit from investing trillions of dollars in resources around the globe, building infrastructure, connectivity, and stealing technology and patents and intellectual property, stealing defense, stealing everything they can get their hands on, education and all that. But they take science seriously, they work hard, and they're building out an electric grid, a power grid, high-speed rail. Iran now can sell oil directly to China by rail. We, for the last 20 years since the Popinjay president got mad that Saddam called his daddy a bad name, and he fell in with Wolfowitz and Kagan, Newland, the rest of those Eastern European progeny of people whose ancestors came from Eastern Europe and were horribly treated by the Tsar and his troops. They've never forgotten it, and they've never really had much power. It's for centuries, I guess. But they set up a little beachhead in the Middle East, and they picked the fights, and the big doofus brother, the big doofus Uncle Sam, wanders in with the baseball bat and the muscles and the ability to finish the fight they start. Well, that's the theory. I don't think we're going to be able to finish any of these fights. And anyway, my point is the United States has lost its economic edge because at least for 20 years, more like 25 years, we've devoted all of our resources, our taxpayers' resources, our military, our credibility, our diplomacy on behalf of MEGA, Make Israel Great Again. It should probably be MUIEA, Make Up Israel Exists Again, or did exist, whatever the hell. But for whatever reason, we get all upset. Oh, God, but that's what we've done. While we've done that, China has built up its ability to compete. And we're going to pay a price for that. But in the meantime, I think China is in the middle of a deflation. I think asset values are collapsing. And I think the thing that's relevant to Finger is this. There's 160 some automobile companies in China, all cutthroat competition. Who's the winner? We'll find out. But one of the losers is General Motors. That woman, I forget her name, brought over General Motors, gave away the technology, and now they're going to go back with big losses. But remember, the future is female. A man could have made the same mistake, I suppose. But General Motors is going to lose their butt in China. And the company called BVD, the electric vehicle manufacturer in China, apparently they're doing 5% profits, but that's questionable. And that's manipulated. And all these automobile companies are apparently doing worse than a grocery store in terms of profits, with more risk and more competition and more uncertainty of what's going to happen ahead. But the thing I heard about, if it's BVD, whatever the hell the electric vehicle company is called, they're not paying their bills. Apparently they're profitable. Apparently they have revenues, but they're not paying their bills. So Richard, Finger Motion has a top-up business that gets them in the door with probably powerful people in China, certainly with the telecoms. But that is a commodity business. It's highly capital intensive. And I don't know, I guess you could say it does pay grocery store profit margins. But that business hasn't really grown recently. It could still. They have with it the MMS and then the rich content messaging. Those could all start showing growth, but they haven't. For 3 years, the company's done $35 million a year, and most of their revenue was in that space. I think any fair judgment of that kind of revenue, I wouldn't blame people for multiplying 1 times that revenue, but 2 times that revenue maybe. It's not particularly growing. It's not always predictable. It's a little lumpy sometimes. Last year it was. So I don't think it deserves a big multiple. So that revenue, I would say the company should be trading at 70 million, 75 million in market cap based just on that revenue. But why does it trade for more? Well, they have this, that's one engine of the company. The next engine is this lifestyle app. I hope you will excuse me if I just skip over that one. I think it's completely meaningless to have a lifestyle app on Wall Street. So let's just ignore that. The third thing is Sapientus, which is data, big data. And in that is cloud computing. It's using the data for insurance companies, Pacific Life Re, Munich Re. But remember, one of those companies pulled back. So when is it going to come in? It's not clear from the last annual report. But they are, the good news is, they are in the laboratory setting with the brainiacs, the mathematicians, and the actuarial tables. I hope they're not noticing that China's population might be the same size as our country. That's also what I'm hearing. Not much bigger than our country. So that might explain some. That's a real thing, Richard. there is a risk in China. They don't have 1.4 billion people. I've listened to credible videos, at least to my ability to screen them. It might be 800 million, 700 million. Some are saying it might be 380 million. But I caution, I haven't seen it in anything I would say is acceptable media by anybody. So it may not be true. But it's a risk. It's a risk. So anyway, under Sapientus, they also have the cloud computing. They have the potential for reselling insurance in China, which I think has huge upside. But so far, it's been for naught. But it takes time. I get that. I get it. But how much more time? And then they have using that data, I guess, their fourth item, which is the vehicular. I had a stepfather that used that word, vehicular traffic. They have the contract, the C2 contract, to fit out vehicles with all the accoutrement to track riots or track emergencies or track anything that requires a civil defense response. And what would be interesting is how much those governments pay in monthly data fees. That'd be interesting to find out. But that C2 contract is the biggest reason, Richard, that I'm worried that the company is going to go below $1. It was announced in November or October of last year. And it was two vehicles. Well, we haven't heard what happened with those vehicles. We haven't heard that the company has been paid back. We don't know the margin on them. We haven't heard any of that. I was hoping it'd be in the, sorry, I don't know why my nose is bothering me. We haven't heard anything about it. Two vehicles. They fit those vehicles out probably in the fourth quarter of last year, and the cycle hasn't returned with profits, if there are any, yet, as far as we know. Maybe it'll be in the first quarter numbers, which we should see soon, maybe this week. So that would be interesting. That would be a positive if it's something good. But what bothers me, Richard, is it was pretty clear to me that the toad was, possibly it was the toad. I think it was the toad. Can't find it. Can't find the toad. He's here somewhere. Toad is here somewhere. Anyway, Moez Kassam, I think, was possibly using buy-side algorithmic computers to start the stock upward that sucked a lot of us in to buy, which was a nice trade. It was a nice trade. Went from $1 to $5. But the volume was really strong. And one of my theories was that he was getting ready to call Roth Capital and say, look, we'll give you $30 million for 15 million shares of finger motion at What is that, $2? $1.50? So that's probably a bad example. We'll give you 30 million shares, $30 million for 10 million shares at $3, and the stock was trading at $4.50. What would that have meant if they had done it? Even though I would be against the toad, I think in gamemanship, Finger Motion should have taken that deal if it was even offered. But I think it may well have been available or something similar because it's profitable to all the co-conspirators. So if they had done it, they'd have to absorb an initial negativity like I did every time I said anything that was bloody well obvious. Oh, you're just talking like the shorts. Oh, you're going against, drive you crazy. Well, they'd have to put up with that negativity. But they'd have $30 million in the bank. They didn't do it. Secondly, what does it mean about the C2 contract that they didn't do that? We were told by press release, so it's probably true, that the C2 contract was an exclusive contract for the entire country. That sounds huge. But then in one of the wordings, I can't direct you right now, when they had this, Roth Capital raised money in December for the company. Remember, the stock was $260 a share, $286 a share, or $268 a share. Roth Capital did a deal for $5 million, taking fees out, discounts, so that get even more when it's repaid. And then they also had derivative bull language in it, so they did it at 150, but then they tried to get it under $1. They're still out there, those Moez Kassam types. They're still out there. They're still trying to get it under $1. They don't quit. They don't go away. They're like Zionists. They start in 1890, and here it is 2025, and they're never satisfied. Ever. It's in the Bible. First it's Judah, then it's all the other kingdoms, then it's something we made up called Israel, and we draw it here. Then it's Greater Israel, goes from the Nile to Iraq and down into Saudi Arabia. We're not ready. Come on, USA, USA, come help us claim the Middle East. Make Benji skinny again. Make Benji attractive again. Make Benji honest again. It's the same thing. They don't go away. They just keep coming. They keep coming. They're going to keep selling finger, keep selling finger, keep selling finger, keep selling finger. They just don't stop. They want greater, they don't want greater finger, they want greater naked short position. So in the document or in the press release or in a filing, I read that Finger Motion won I don't know how many vehicles, but they won the tender for that contract in December or January, whenever it was. So they needed the 5 million minus the fees, minus the discounts, probably 4.3 million, minus some other, probably $4 million. They needed that because they won the tender. What does that mean? If it's an exclusive contract and it covers the entire country's governments, why do you have to bid for it each time. That makes me a little nervous, because then it's not exclusive and you're up against competition. But more importantly, Richard, the fact that they didn't raise money means to me this is a small contract. Look at the first two. You still haven't finished the cycle from building them out, delivering them, and getting paid, as far as we know. They haven't finished that cycle. They did it in December. There was a New Year's, so let's say it was February that they outfitted everything February, March, on however many vehicles that is. And maybe they delivered them in April. So it's going to take what? Till November they get paid? But what if the government is behind on payments? What if the suppliers are behind on payments? I don't know. But let's say it goes into the third or fourth quarter before payment comes. And then they just raised a little bit of money just now. So then the next cycle is going to take another 6 months to into next year. How is this helping the company? I would have much rather seen them raise $30 million and they finished whatever they got orders for in the first quarter. They started another slug of automobiles in the second quarter, another slug in the third quarter, another slug in the fourth quarter with that money. And then each of those are cycling so that once they're finished, they're delivered, they get paid, and then with that money, they can start another quarter. And it becomes self-funding and it becomes automatic. But I don't see that now. It wasn't in the annual report. Maybe something like that'll come up in the first quarter. They did announce a joint venture, but not with SAIC, which they did the first deal with. They did it with a different company. Is that good? Is that bad? We didn't get any color on it. So, Richard, what does it mean to me? And I don't own Finger right now. It means to me that Finger very likely will have to raise money again, and maybe this year. And who will they do it with? Maybe whales, but whales are just like everyone else. They look at the price, they say, I want a discount. How did that help last time? They got a discount and the stock went down. In fairness, the stock is still trading about 50 cents above what they paid. But when whales get a discount, that's usually where the stock price ends up going anyway. But they're going to want a discount. Maybe not as harmful a discount as Roth Capital's clients will ask for. But let me just ask you, what if another contract comes through, like the one that apparently was coming through in December? I'm doing this all by memory. Let's say when everyone gets back to school, the government puts out another swath of vehicular retrofitting contracts for bid. Well, if Finger Motion's going to win the bid, they're going to have money to pay for it. Where are they going to get that money? Is there an angel out there that's going to come in right now and pay $5 a share? They would have paid $5, well, maybe $3.50 a couple of months ago. That's not where the price is right now. The price is $2. Who's going to come in over $2? Who's going to come in at $2? And if they do it through the Toad via Roth Capital, I can see it under $1. Now, that's the negative. Richard, that's the negative. The positive could be that they have a source of capital, that they have a joint venture, but I still emphasize it's all going to be circled around $2, not the $5 it was a month or so ago. So it's a very long way of saying, Richard, that if I were sitting on 5,000 shares of Finger and I could buy 30,000 shares of Railtown, I would do it with alacrity. But be sure you can buy Railtown in the, I don't know, 60, 70 cents range. Anything under $1, really, but just make sure you're getting it at a price that you want before you sell Finger. So I'd let the market open up. But to take your example, I'm sorry I'm going on so long. If I had 5,000 shares of Finger, I would sit down tonight or with my coffee in the morning, and I would write out 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, end of the year. And I mean, I can tell you, I think Finger is lucky to stay at $2 for that entire time. Now, there are people out there saying, well, it's hit support. Okay, I guess it's hit support. What does that mean? I like charts, but I don't think charts are the be all end all. My chart reading a couple weeks ago, I actually saw a declining wedge that would lead me to believe that Finger Motion could go up to $2.60, maybe $3, but it didn't happen. So anyway, I would do that. I would just say I've got 5,000 shares, $2, 10 grand. What's it gonna be worth August 15th? What's it gonna be worth September 15th? What's it gonna be worth October 15th? What's it gonna be worth December 15th? And you just have to come up with what you think it's gonna be worth. My opinion, Finger will be worth, unless it has a little bit of a rally first, ironically, Finger might be worth more within the next 2 or 3 weeks just because of that chart pattern I saw, but I think it'll come back down. But ignoring that, because I think the pattern got broken, I would say Finger Motion, August 15th, $1.75. Finger Motions, September 15th, 2.25. Finger Motion, October 15th. This is where it gets scary. If they have to raise money, Finger Motion could be, it could be $1, $1.25. $1.50 is where they raised money before. So I would put down, me, if it were me, I'd say for October, I would expect it to be $1.50. And then November, Stress City, December, tax loss selling. Personally, I'd write down $1 for December. Now, that's all being negative, of course. Could it squeeze? Could it have great contracts, a rescue? Could contracts come in out of the blue from the insurances? Could it come in from Sapientus? Could they have a huge cloud computing revenue source? Sure. So then I would probably go through that same line, those same dates, and say, what do I think the upside is for Finger? What could it be to the upside? I wouldn't change August. I probably wouldn't change September. I probably wouldn't change October either, because they're going to have to raise money. That's the bear of it. They're going to have to raise money. Now, I think Finger, the next time it runs would be next year, if at all. So anyway, you can come up with positive scenarios, but let me just, as I've stated before, and I'll state it as clearly as I can, Finger Motion will not squeeze. Finger Motion will not squeeze. Apparently, I have my head up my ass when I say that, but so you can pick you can pick your side of that. I don't think it's a debate. I just don't, finger motion's not going to squeeze. So anyway, then I take that same calendar and I say, what could happen to Railtown? There, now it gets interesting. 5,000 Railtown, according to your numbers, gives 30,000 Railtown. 5,000 finger gives 30,000 Railtown. I don't know. I'm not going to figure it. But let's say 30,000 Railtown. Where do I think that could be August 15th? I'll use $5 instead of $6. 150 grand. 1 month from now, Railtown at $5, I think, is a completely sane objective. If I'm wrong, $3. If I'm wrong, $6, $7. Very sane, $5. Funny thing about $5 in Railtown, though, if it is there on August 15th, and it kind of stays there, it's going to be sticky wherever it goes. It's not going up and coming down, at least not down for more than a pullback. But if it's at $5 and all the boys and girls come back from the Hamptons in the second week of September because they deserve their vacation, you're going to see institutions buying Railtown. So my September 15th number be $10. September 15th, your account's worth 300 grand, if I'm right. These are projections, not promises. Now it gets to $10, and assuming you don't get shaken out by the people who have their own agenda, if it gets to $10, what does it do then by October, November? Let's just put a pause for the cause in there. Let's say October, it's still $10. So what does it do in November and December? Well, you're in the heart of Wall Street raising money for AI 2.0. I think November, no reason for me to believe it couldn't be $15 on November 15th. 450 grand. December 15th, it could just stay there, or it could be $20. And each time it goes up, you're not going to be worried about, oh, is it going to squeeze? Well, actually, there's a possibility it will squeeze, which makes me sick to my stomach. But let's assume it doesn't squeeze. As these go up, institutions are going to be coming into it, Richard. And if you really want to be relentless, you've got to buy your shares now, because as institutions, did I show you this this little thing here? This is on Morgan Stanley. They have 7 results when you put in AI investments. Now, maybe you could put in a different query and find more. But when I did it, I came up with 7. Kathy Ark is up there with the glasses, so she looks smart, which she isn't. But she's a good salesperson. Well, that's when all that money's going to start flowing in, and they got to go buy the AI properties. So anyway, I think you can take a $10,000 account and turn it into 100,000, but maybe hundreds of thousands over the next 6 to 9 months. And I don't think it's over then. If you're willing to wait 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, I think Railtown's a $40 stock, maybe a $50 stock, maybe a $60 stock. And if you're willing just to buy it and start living life to its fullest and not always being on edge, listening to all this tension, oh, the shorts are coming, fuck Trump, all that stuff. Just go do your life, be on the beach. I think Railtown is a really good shot at being purchased. If I had to guess, it'll be Microsoft, but I think it'll be a bidding war. Why do I say Microsoft? Because they're partners with them. They're already doing business. He brought it up on his videos with GitHub. I didn't know until I listened to his videos. GitHub's part of Microsoft. I had no idea. So if I had to guess, that would be they'd have the head start. But NVIDIA, they're a partner. Maybe they want to buy them. Or AMD. Or maybe Apple, who's losing out, wants to come in and buy. Or maybe Google. Or maybe Tesla. Or maybe somebody out of China. Or maybe, Bibi Netanyahu wants to buy it and he's going to come ask Uncle Sam to lend him the money. I don't know. But you may not have to sell Railtown at all to get a great return. We don't know all this now. We don't know all this. The only thing I know, Richard, is the S-curve that I've shown quite a bit of value creation. Railtown's been in a 6-year, 10 million roughly development phase. They came out commercially, beta testing and all that kind of thing. So their product has, according to Corey, he used the words, it's been battle tested. But their product is ready to go. It's first to market. It's proprietary. It's the best. Everybody wants it. And it helps companies develop AI, their own AI. I don't think there's a comparison between holding Finger and holding Railtown AI. The only reason you would hold Finger is that you don't want to take a loss or you believe it's going to squeeze. There's no way in hell Finger's going to squeeze. Sorry to be so blunt, but last time when I expressed my thoughts on GTII, they didn't come across clearly. I don't think you can mistake my thoughts on finger motion. Finger motion will not squeeze. But then again, my head's up my ass. So I might be confused. But I'm not. It's not going to squeeze. And what Railtown offers you without a squeeze, if you get in at 60 cents and I expand my targets just slightly and say over the next 60 to 90 days, you could get $6. That's 10x. If then I say over the next 6 months to a year and a half to 2 years, I'd like to think it would happen pretty quickly, but it could take a while. I think you get another 10x. It goes to $60. Broad target, we'll know more. But if we can learn to just sit, get it right, sit tight, make the commitment, do the crossword. I think you're looking at 10x in the relatively near term and 10x in sort of a broad, intermediate 2-year time frame. So that's 100x. Yeah, you got to wait. But once it happens, it doesn't come back. And then from $60, I think it's going to be hard in my mind right now to project that it could go to $600 in a buyout. But I used to use the argument live that from 30 cents, 35 cents, you go to 350, go to $35, and you could see $400 in a buyout. It doesn't take much. You get two of these behemoth companies, trillion-dollar companies, bidding on it, and they're offering stock. And then internally, they've got, I should have looked it up, but GitHub charges its developers a monthly rate. What if Conductor's so good, it goes in that monthly rate? All of a sudden, that's Microsoft, I think, GitHub, yeah. All of a sudden, Microsoft, it almost doesn't matter what they pay us because they can create a quantum leap in value internally just with their own customer base. I don't know. It's pretty compelling. I don't see any reason to stay with Finger at all. We've been given a lifeline here, and I think you got to grab it with both hands. The macro business behind it is that AI 2.0 is getting ready because of the chips, the switches, whatever, the big data centers. But we're about to leap into the great new human experiment of AI 2.0 and all the technology. And Railtown's right there ready to go. Why? Because they planned for it. It looks like luck, and I'm sure there's some of that in there in terms of timing. It looks like an overnight success is what I'm talking about. But they planned for it. They developed this product. They met 6 years ago. It's a lot like the switches on that, God rest all the souls that died on that Indian flight. I don't know why they couldn't create something that would lock for the first 3 minutes as you take off. Well, it would seem like they could have put a lock on there, but anyway. Yeah, Richard, I just don't see any choice but to sell Finger and buy Railtown. Now, what happens if tomorrow or Wednesday or Friday or next week or I don't know. I hate to think about it. If this goes into August, everybody's vacationing, maybe it'll be September, and I'll have to come on every day until then talking about it. But let's say it gets accomplished September 5th. The deal is closed. Well, the stock might be at $1.50, might be $2 then. And if you sell your Finger motion, you've got 5,000 shares here of Finger at $2. If you wait too long, you might be able to exchange that for 5,000 shares of Railtown. I would still do it, but it won't give you that massive potential to fix your account. Railtown gives you a chance to fix your account and get returns. Why? Because it's in the suppression. There's suppression from the shorts, clearly, which I hate to even acknowledge. And there's no buying from the big boys and girls. They can't do it until that deal's finished and disclosed. So anyway, I don't know if I helped. I probably filibustered more than anything. But Richard, to me, let me pick a number, 30,000 shares of Railtown at the end of the first quarter next year, 9 months from now. $20, 600 grand. Chop it down, call it $500,000. Finger motion in March of next year. I'll say $3. So you have 15 grand. 15 grand versus $500,000. And then the other question you ask yourself, what can go wrong with Finger? I spent a long time here describing it. What can go wrong with Railtown if you buy it here? I don't see anything. It is speculative. It is speculative. Let me show you the research report. Speculative. But this is from a year ago, but it's still speculative. So it's not like you're buying a CD. But you know, when you buy a CD, it's not like buying a CD anymore. So you can cling to holding on to 10 grand of Finger, give or take 5 grand, and just cling on to it, believing that it's going to squeeze. Or you can come over in a stock that a year ago, the bear target is 90 cents. What's your risk? What's your risk other than the overall market, which you share in Finger, by getting into Railtown? This research report, and I'm not going to be able to go through I've just talked too long. I'm not going to be able to go through my multiples. But this research report uses a $3 billion market and assumes they capture 3% of that. And they come up with a target of $2. That's from a year ago. But they also say here, based on our discussions with several customers, the value proposition of Railtown's AI tool is impressive, quite impressive. People want this tool and they're ready to go. It's real. It's not. Anyway, let me move on because I'm putting myself to sleep. Yeah, I feel the pain too. If I didn't say that, Richard and Jack, I don't mean to be heartless, because I lost my entire Finger position. So it's not so much I feel your pain, I am your pain. Mike, not giving advice, but I sold lots of my Finger and replaced them with one calls 115 and 130. That was a good move, depending on when you did it, right? Oh, this coming Jan. All right, so Mike has a good idea. Richard, that's a great. If you're afraid to be out of Finger and you think my negativity is too extreme, what Mike did is sold his stock, used part of the proceeds to buy the January 26th, I assume, calls, but he's paying quite a bit for them, $1.15, $1.30. But so in that case, maybe you can buy 10,000 Railtown, and I don't know, you just have to sit down with a pencil and figure it out. Sorry. Well, Jack, it's not financial advice, but it is the positives perhaps. But let me put it differently. Finger might work out. You might get a surprise out of left field that I think Chairman Xi's he's lucky if he stays alive. I think he's going to be taking the fast train to Kazakhstan. And whoever this guy is, I can't pronounce it, that comes in to replace him, he might not have the same relationships with the investors of Finger Motion. I don't know. On the other hand, he might have better relationships. But something positive could happen to Finger, and it could go to 20. That's 10x. But I would still think it's the right thing to make the swap now, because that's just gambling. You don't know. I'm telling you, there's data here, there's news stories, there's the macro thing, there's money coming in. There's enough data here to know that Finger Motion is mispriced. Railtown is mispriced. I don't want to draw that chart again. It's been an R&D company. It's going into commercialization. It's about to go up the hockey stick. The reason it hasn't gone up the hockey stick yet in valuation is when they signed the MOU February 11th, one of the top 4 banking firms in Canada locked up their own sales force, institutional and retail. They can't recommend Railtown to anybody while it's in the quiet period, why it's on the restricted list. The institutions, wealth advisors, whales, family offices in Railtown, and the insiders in Railtown can't buy Railtown. The people who founded AI Partners and then all of their investors can't buy Railtown if they know about this deal, and they probably do. And then all the principals and investors in the 160 companies probably can't. So for 4.5 months, nobody out of Canaccord can solicit orders to buy Railtown. There's no research. So in the face of that, when the news came out and said MOU several weeks, the co-conspirators, their computers, the algorithms in their computers just have been selling ever since. And my contention is they'll keep selling, but when that deal is finalized and it's fully disclosed, the buying that's going to come in is going to overwhelm the shorts. They're going to have a hard time getting credit from their prime brokers. New shorts might come in, that always happens. But you're going to finally see, I hope not, there is a potential to see all of the lessons you've learned about short selling from Ham come to fruition in Railtown. I hope not. I don't want Railtown to become hot money. I just don't want it to become hot money, because when it's hot, your emotion, your blood will be running high, you'll be susceptible to the next story. You'll be sold another story. Do yoga and Railtown. Should I wear a bikini? Oh, Microsoft bought SoundHound. BYD, that's it. BYD. Let me get some water. I didn't realize I got all off on that question. GQ Venu. Is the Ham guy that was about Finger not coming on here live anymore? I haven't heard you. Can you speak to it? Understandable if not, sir. I have spoken to it. I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, Ham went down to Florida to meet these guys from the FBI. And I think he was leaving on a Thursday morning or Friday morning. And, I think he did a live with me that day or something. But anyway, he had to get up early, like 4:30 in the morning, to go to the airport. And we spoke at night.
And then I think we spoke Friday, but then Saturday, I don't remember exactly. I really don't. But either late Friday, Saturday, he called me, I called back, couldn't get to him. And you know, when you let it ring, it goes to his voicemail that says we're sorry. The customer you have reached has a voicemail that's not been set up. So you can't leave a message, but you know, he sees the response. Anyway, I think that happened 2 or 3 times while he was down in Florida, I think it was. And he called me, I called him back each time. And then I don't know if it was from Florida or here on Sunday or Monday. He called and he said, and I think I picked up or I had to call right back, and he picked up or whatever, we spoke. And he said, "You've been hard to reach." I said, "Well, no, I've called back every time, but I know you're, on your appointments." He said, "Well, I'm getting ready to play pickleball. Maybe we can do something. In other words, go live later. Let me call you right after the pickleball." And he never called. And I was probably live. I don't think about it because he's, we're guys, and he's probably in meetings or whatever. It's not like, you know. So a few days went by, and I guess he found out how he could do lives on space calls on Twitter, and I think a perfectly wonderful person, Kristen Shaughnessy, I think helped him, and I think he really did well with it. I understand he got thousands of listeners, so I don't blame him. That's more than he was getting here, and she's really good, so. I think he just decided that was a more effective way, and he didn't have to deal with me, and he could turn it on any time. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him, so I don't know what the thought process was. But hey, that happens. It's no hard feelings. It's odd. I will say that it's odd. I do think there might be reasons other than convenience. When Finger was $1.04 or so, I started talking about this. Looks like it could be a good trade. I just based on looking at the chart and sensing that the selling pressure was washed out. And I said so, January, February. I said I think Finger Motion has a trade here. I personally don't have a big account anymore, and I was in Railtown, G Bucks, and Nixie, all of which had these urgencies on them. And I didn't know of any urgency on Finger, but I thought Finger could go from $1 to $3, $4, $5, maybe even $6 a share. And I said so. And I kept saying, and I kept saying, and I kept being positive on it, and it did. But when it got up to those numbers and people started buying calls, what calls should I buy? I started saying, why don't you sell calls? Why don't you sell calls against your position? Why don't you take your profit? And in fairness to him, I think he was saying that too. Take that and get some cheap calls. But people weren't listening. And I even said, sell the stock. That might have been one problem. The other is I said that I thought Finger Motion was going to raise money. And it came back to me, not from him, but from other people, that I was somehow part of the shorts, and only the shorts would say that. The company, they exercised 7 million warrants. They've got all this cash. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. I then talked about how the company
really needed to do a joint venture with an automobile or truck company. They don't, they got all the money. This is coming in, that's coming in, this is going to happen. All right, I guess I'm wrong. And then I've been pretty clear that I don't think it's going to squeeze, and I don't think that goes over well. I did hear back that apparently I have my head up my ass, which I don't think making a call on finger motion has anything to do with the fact that my head's up my ass. I could see plenty of reasons to say that outside of finger motion. And then the other thing I remember that might have met with some frustration is twice you guys, I don't know about you, Matthew, but you guys were all going to collect at the electronic starting point one morning at 9:30, and everybody was going to buy 100 shares, and it was being talked out here. And I said, you can't do that. That's illegal. You cannot collude to buy stock like that. Please. I think if you're doing it pre-market and you've never done it before, that's going to be collusion, and you can get in trouble. You'll probably lose not only that trade, but you might lose your account. Don't do it. And I think that didn't really meet with the highest enthusiasm, but I'm just guessing. If you want to know, you're going to have to ask him. There's a gentleman, Matthew, that in all of his professionalism sent me a very threatening text. And he came into my space. He's got his own following, but I guess he had to come in here. But he said that Ham hates me now. So maybe Ham hates me. Sounds very high school. And I don't have a problem with Ham. I think Ham's intentions are to fight the shorts. And and I don't think Finger would be where it is today without Ham's hard work. I just think that's a fact. I think Finger would be like MMAT or Torchlight or MULN or DDBM or any of them. So he's worked really hard to make Finger work. But this has been 4 years, I think, 3 years anyway. And my biggest thing is time has gone by for Finger. And I think that's true of AMC and GME. And I insist that when GME starts going up, that you get ready to sell some, sell calls, because it's under control. They're going to do another deal. The criminals have something in mind. And I think that Finger's in that category now. I don't trust Roth Capital. I'm not saying everybody at Roth Capital's bad. I'm just saying the toad gives them a lot of business. And I already explained everything I could about how disappointed I was with the annual report. Oh, the other thing I talked about is the dividend was going to be delayed. I've been saying that since December. I got so much shit back, not from him, from other people. But these are reasons that probably I stopped being the best place to go on and talk about Finger. Maybe, I don't know. I'm tired now. I shouldn't be explaining it so much. I'm trying to answer your question. But I don't have any problem with Ham. I think Ham works his ass off. And but he just decided to stop coming on my calls. You'll have to ask him. Cam Newgan, 13,000. All right. That's awesome. That's a good number, Cam. 13,000 is a great now. And Railtown is my yoga. Yeah, we want to get away from the hot money. Mrs. Doubtfire. Jimbo Wildfire. Mrs. Whitefire. Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh, I'm so tired. I think we're going to be. Is this fall election or next fall? Next fall. I'm afraid we're going to lose the House and I don't know about the Senate. I think we might lose the House over. I think Epstein is a Mossad agent, and Bibi was here to do his laundry and to cover up Epstein. That's my opinion. Unfortunately, I would personally give Trump leeway on that, but I think a large part of the base won't give him leeway. I never expect that. They're not going to bring people like Bill Clinton or Dershowitz to justice. Hey, Donna M. Can I send an email update about a gold company? No, I can't. I'd just be making things up. There's nothing to say. Gold, since we invested in it, has not quite doubled, but it's almost doubled. I can go over the story again, but I think you remember it. I mean, just to bottom line the story. There's probably twice this, but if you use 60 million ounces of gold with a cost of, there's two numbers you can use. What would a company pay for 60 million ounces of gold in the ground? Anywhere from $50 to $400. I don't know, pick one. Let's say 150, 150. It'll be in stock. So you got a $9 billion company. You divide it by, they don't have this many shares right now, but divide it by 900 million. You got a $10 stock in a buyout with that number. But I think I've used a low number. Another way you do it is you don't sell, you produce it. So you need JV financing, project financing. You go out and you build it. I'm only using 60 million ounces of gold, which is it's probably about 10 times how much gold is proven with what they did 10 years ago. None of it's proven until the pilot plant is built. And as you know, Brandon, we raised about $500,000. I would imagine the company's going to need to raise a little bit more money, I haven't asked if we can put it up or not. They were seeking $5 million, and we raised $500,000. they expanded it. They said, well, we can still use 5 million. And there is an investor who is excited and agreed to do it. But out of his control, out of anybody's control, the money has not arrived. And I'm hopeful it'll be soon. But I got to caution that August is probably vacation month. So if something doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks, I figure it'll be September. And that's going to be painful. It's going to be stressful for me to get through. I think I haven't gone through my emails, but I think there's several people who want to invest, and I could probably try to do a call from that context, maybe raise a little more money, 100 grand or something. But the other way with 60 million ounces, and it could be 100 million ounces, it could be 150 million ounces. But just using that number, 60 million ounces, the other way is to develop it yourself. The all-in cost is estimated at a fraction or substantially below industry cost per ounce. Gold right now is 3,400. I think that you could take that number right there, and you might be right. So take 400 off of that. You got $3,000 profit on 60 million ounces. If the company builds it out itself. It'd be years, but that's what I'd like to do. At $3,000 an ounce, it's 180 billion, Brandon. Use $1 billion as the outstanding shares. They don't have that many by a long shot, but I'm just trying to. It's $180 a share. So Brandon, you paid 4 cents a share, and it really was in the form of a convertible note, which pays you interest. There's a little bit of an enticer number of warrants. I'm going to ignore that because I can't remember the ratio. But I negotiated a 1-for-1 warrant to share. So each unit you're paying 4 cents for the share, and you're getting the warrant for free. 5-year warrant at the same price, 4 cents. So you're able to actually own twice the number of shares in a conversion that you actually paid for. But if we just stick with what you did pay for, ignore the doubling. You bought your shares at 4 cents, ignore the warrants, just ignore the warrants. You bought your shares at 4 cents. The company could be sold with a little work. It will still need some money. It could be sold right now. There's a buyer that would buy the company, cram us down, and wipe everybody out. But we would end up with this is an old offer, so it may have changed. Originally, it was 20 cents a share maximum, not upfront. We'd have to earn it. But now that might be 40 cents a share. I don't think anybody's going to do that, but it's a threat. It's a threat.
You paid 4 cents. I think the worst case scenario is somebody comes along and takes over the project, crams us down. There's still the risk maybe it doesn't work somehow. I don't think that's much risk. Otherwise, I wouldn't be showing it to you. So your risk is you make 10 times your money in a buyout like that. It'll take a while. It'll take 2 years. If the company were just sold with a little bit of work, 10 years ago, they third party, they did drilling and testing for gold using off-the-shelf assay methods. And they came up with a little over, well, actually 6,600,000 ounces of gold recoverable from 2 zones down to 200 feet. At today's prices, if you built that out, it's a pretty, and just got that, it's pretty valuable, $20 billion. But nobody's going to do that if you don't build the pilot plant. So if you just assume that someone's paying only for the 6.6, and I would use a low number, maybe the $100. Let's see what that does per ounce. 660, which is, there's fewer. That's probably just over the. Let's just say there's 660 million shares outstanding. That's over what is. That works out to $1 a share. So if they just sold it as is, maybe you get $1 a share. To the natural buyer would be Gold Strike, which is a joint venture of Newmont Mining and Barrick Gold. But I don't think they're going to do that. That we haven't been fighting this long to create value here. Once the pilot plant's up, and if you just assume 200 feet depth and you fill in from the north zone and the south zone and maybe go out a bit, you can calculate very conservatively that there's 36 million ounces of gold with success. If you drill down 200 further feet, which they've done, that can get you to 70 million ounces. And in fact, gold may be deeper and it may extend further. So you might have 100, 120 million ounces of gold. It's a phenomenal amount of gold. What the company needs to do is finish building out the plant, which I think would take approximately 3 to 6 months, but let's say it differently. Let's say 6 to 9 months. And they need to start running 20 tons of sand, that's what it is, sand, through the process a day in the pilot plant, and they have to weigh the gold. The weighing of the gold will revolutionize how Wall Street looks at this project. So what the pilot plant exists, but it needs to be expanded. Machinery's been ordered, work has been done. They did bring in an additional $1 million, but right now the holdup is the money I raised, the $5 million I raised. It hasn't come in yet, Brandon. So there's nothing
really to talk about. The grade of the resource using the off-the-shelf methodology was 0.038 ounces of gold per ton of sand. There's probably at least 1 billion tons of sand there. That's not all proven up. They just proved up 270 million tons of sand. But there's over 1 billion tons of sand. The grade, just to repeat it, is 0.038. With the, I'm just going to skip all the methodology that money was raised and spent on over the last 15 years. In the last 4 years, since the lockdowns, the brains, the genius behind the project, put up his own money, and he's run hundreds of tests with 2 new methodologies, which are proprietary, and they recover actually more than this, but they recover 0.20 instead of 0.038. They recover greater than 0.20 ounces of gold per ton. His processes also recover platinum. I'm sorry, palladium. They recover palladium. At quite a big number, but we should ignore that. There's silver in there, but just focusing on the 0.20. 0.20 takes the current 270 million ounces of gold to 54 million tons. 54 million ounces of gold. And if you just drill down 200 feet, you can double that. That's 108 ounces of gold. If you drill in between, you can get up to, look, if you took 1 billion tons of sand plus that's there, and it's all the same crap. It's in an ancient caldera, and you assume an average of 0.20. You got 200 million ounces of gold. So, Brandon, we wait. And of course, you have to ask about it here, which you know I have a lot of friends, and you know they come on, and you know it's a good place if you want to protect your investment to have it discussed here. But I can't do anything about it. I've tried, because time goes by. I guess you figure something's wrong. The only thing wrong is the money hasn't come in, and I think it's going to be soon. But if you'd asked me that last month, I would have said that. It is not a delay that anybody can do anything about. It's like waiting for your waiting in line to take the DMV test at your local DMV. Maybe not now, but 10 years ago, what it was like. I don't know, Brandon. I got to move on from that. I tried to answer in full, because if I don't, you're going to assume I'm hiding something. Not hiding anything. It's the same story. It's very exciting. There's nothing left to do except weigh the gold. And how do you weigh the gold? You got to bring the equipment in, install it, and start running it. What do you need for that? $5 million. Where's the $5 million? It's coming. How about Railtown Roadsters? I like that.
I like that. Railsters, Townsters, Toadsters, Railtown, artificial roadsters. Why do we love you so much? Because you care. Really, Bill? I do care. I have a wee house in north of Scotland. I'm meant to come into a bit of money. We could be married. Really, Bill? I do care. Oh, the whole thing. The whole thing. Sometimes Ham's calls are less than 15 minutes. That might have something to do with it. That's a good point. He doesn't want to be on here so long. That's a good point. See, that could be it. Maybe he just doesn't want to be on a long, stupid call. Rail gang. Every time he explains something, even when you're exhausted, we learn a bit more. Boom, my head is going like this. Where can I purchase some rail? Well, that's the symbol. You see it in the headline. RLAIF. If you're international, you can buy it in Canada, and the symbol is RAIL.CN, but be careful because there's a railroad company called, I don't know, Canadian National Rail or something. And it's got a similar symbol, but it trades for, I don't know, $130. But anyway, you can buy it in Canada on I think the Toronto, and I think the symbol is RAIL.CN. But in the United States markets, you buy it on the over-the-counter, RLAIF. RLAIF. Yeah, silver. I wish I were talking about silver. I wish I had already bought silver, and I've just resolved that I'm going to miss the trade in silver. But it doesn't mean you guys have to miss it. I haven't talked about it for a month approximately because for clarity reasons, I I didn't know it would be this long, but I've chosen to just focus on Railtown because I cannot impress upon you what a fantastic job you guys have done owning 8 million shares of Railtown, 5.5% of the company. You guys, right now, the stock's doubled, but it feels like we're just waiting and waiting. I'm glad it's taking so long because you guys have been able to do the heavy lifting. But I think the stock is going up because of Canada, not because of everything we buy is just algorithmic selling from the shorts. So we're not changing anything. I think it's the buying out of, in my opinion, I think it's the buying out of Canada. And when there's good news, there's whispers. You can't help it. There's somebody in investment banking at Canaccord going to the loo, pulling out his flip phone that they can't trace, and saying, "Hey, what are you doing for lunch? Let's meet." And then saying, "Hey, this is something." I mean, it's human nature. So that's the tape. The tape is telling you the deal's done, as far as I can tell, or close to done. And the whole thing about Railtown, even as much as I love silver, if I sit down and write down silver on a piece of paper today, it's already up, it's $40, and I say, where's it going to go
by the end of the year. $80, I would say $80 to $120. Well, that's a 2x or 3x. And then if I wrote down underneath it, where do I think Railtown's gonna go? I think Railtown, by the end of the year, if I use that time frame, I think Railtown can go definitely 10x right away. And then if it's me writing down the piece of paper, making my own decision, I think Railtown could be $30 at the end of the year. Now that is pushing it. That is dreaming. Because I don't want you thinking about $30 by the end of the year, but that's what I would write down. So even in the short run, Railtown offers a better curative potential to an account. But I think silver's the place to be. I just wish I owned it. I wish I owned it at 15, at 20, at 25, at 30. Now it's 40. And you're going to find out with Railtown what I mean. If you own it inexpensively and it starts to run, you're going to feel so strong. You'll withstand any ups and downs. But if Railtown, if you have to pay $6 for it, I'll still think it's a good buy. But it could pull back to 3 for 6 weeks and you're going to feel sick to your stomach. It's just a different proposition at $6 than it is at 60 cents. And that's how it'll be with silver. Silver will be, I think silver's going to be thousands of dollars an ounce eventually, but silver will be $150, $200, and you're just not going to want to buy it. So but anyway, the only reason I haven't been talking about it is I just want to make sure everybody understands this is the place to be right now in my judgment. And then we might have this horrible choice if Railtown does go to 6. I don't think you're going to want to sell it. And then, so how does that help buy silver? I don't know. But let's cross that bridge when we get to it. If rail works, can I invest more? Oh, in the gold company. Yeah, I've been waiting for the money to come in to make that proposition. But maybe what I'll do is maybe once rail changes its price, so I can stop doing these every day. It's like a telethon or something. Maybe I'll do a little campaign on that. See if we can raise some more money. I'll look into that, Brandon. I'll find out. RLAIF, Realists, RLAI, Real Language AI for Beginners. Wasn't expecting to see this when I jumped on. What did I see? What did I do? I don't know, Colby. I hope I didn't offend. I'm so dead tired. If there's questions there, I'll answer them. But I may sign off and just try to do it again tomorrow. Well, I'm not sure I like the Nationals pick, but Nationals picked Eli Willits. he was number 5, but we picked him number 1. Tyler Bremner came in number 2. He was number 18. Kate Anderson was number 2, the Mariners. Rockies got Ethan Holiday at 4, and he was number 1. We're number 4. We're number 4. What was Wilston? Number 5. All right, well, we're number 5. And then I think we had a pick at 49. Let me see what we did. Ethan Petrie, outfield out of South Carolina. I guess that's good. China and India drive global demand for air conditioning. If I had to pick one modern accoutrement that everybody wants, it's air conditioning. 3 top investment ideas for the next decade. Let's see what he says. Eric Peters, One River Asset Management. I'm looking for thematic ideas to build into our investment forum. He's talking about 10-year transition to the blockchain for the financial market. So his other ideas, the United States has returned the world to its natural state, law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. Each government has come to realize there's no going back. Deficit spending for military is staggering. So I guess it would be defense. The second one is Chinese need to spend massively to adjust to a hostile world. So there's manufacturing capital stranded in China. The housing bubble hangover and hyper-leveraged financial system leave Xi. I think he's gone. Xi's gone. He'll be pushing manufactured product, probably at a loss, on the global south. China is well beyond the point where it simply steals Western technology and builds cheap products. My contacts who travel to China and observe its precision manufacturing capabilities tell me that it's doubtful we can catch up. Yeah, we've wasted but hey, the future is female. And in biotech, they spent decades copying our compounds. Well, he didn't say anything about AI. I don't want to listen to an interview. All right. There's no real news tonight. President Trump refuses to leave the stage during FIFA World Cup trophy ceremony.
President Trump gets ratioed for the first time ever over Epstein. Best thing that happened to me tonight, I went to Mass and there's this baby. It's an older guy and the woman doesn't look that young, but I think it's their child, a little baby with blue eyes. And she was carrying him down and I looked and he smiled at me. But when I walked outside, his father was holding him and he was here and I was behind. And he looked at me and I waved and he had this big, big smile and he kept looking at me with a smile. That was the best thing that happened to me tonight. How did the Cubs do? You didn't hear? They're leaving the league. They're selling the stadium. All right, I'm going to sign out. 11 o'clock. I've got to get to sleep. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I wanted to go over valuations. Like, for example, that report is using a $3 billion market. I just showed you Morgan Stanley AI what I wrote down was 3 billion market. So it's the same one. Anyway, I'm too tired to go through it. All right. Peace, love, and happiness. Don't go to bed mad. Just go to bed. Is that how you say it? Good night.